Episode 35 of the Long Haul Podcast. Welcome, everyone. Luckily, we had a short episode yesterday, and because of the recent leak of the video this week, we just decided let's do an emergency podcast to compensate for yesterday's short post. I'm Nyan, as always, joined by my co-host Kerry. How are you doing, my dude?
Hey man, doing fine since yesterday.
Yeah. No, this time around was very, very short. But I mean, this is huge. Like, I'm sure everyone's noticed that this time it's blown up on Reddit and so on. So a video came out. I'm still not sure if I should be calling this a leak because the video is unlisted, right? So it's kind of weird. It gives the impression that it was a mistake. But at the same time, Eric Tams was talking on Reddit, and it didn't seem like he was particularly worried about it. So I wonder if it was on purpose or if it was a leak, or what do you think?
Well, I think we can't call it a leak because it was Valve itself that launched it. So it would be, if it was a leak, it would be by someone else, I guess. At least that's how I see it. But I don't know if it was intentional or oops, well, now it's done. It's out there. We can't do anything about it. But, well, it's here and there's a lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to let the video free flow here, and I've put it on a loop for people to watch. But I guess we can cut the sections when we want to show something. If you're on audio, yeah, whatever, you will understand what we are talking about. But made a huge list of things that we wanted to touch on. I think there's really a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're going to try to avoid to make the episode extremely long. We're just going to touch on the things that we think are the most important. But yeah, first thing I wanted to say, the video is from the 1st of May. So it's at this point 3 weeks old, and the latest shop changes since the previous 2-3 posts, Monday posts, have not been implemented yet. So it really feels like the video was already prepared to be posted a while back, and then yeah, it makes you wonder what happened if they just had plans to release it, and then with the subsequent changes of the shop that they announced, if they went back or whatever. In any case, it feels like it was some sort of miscommunication. But yeah, this is to say that the shop that they show is not the shop that they've already admitted will be coming out in the upcoming beta, as announced yesterday. And the video,
but that's fine, because if they were going to change, if they had to remake the video every time they tweaked something, we'd never get a video out. So
yeah.
Launching it like this doesn't look like someone messed up. It just looks like they're not going to redo it every time they tweak something. So that's fine.
Of course. And we got to take it with a grain of salt, right? Because this is beta. You could almost even, like the way that the game looks, you could almost even say it looks like in an alpha stage. And they say it themselves. There's some 2D stuff that they took from other games or from older stuff that they had worked on just to have something there. So obviously the game is not going to look like this. It's obviously unfinished and unpolished, like Eric Tams says in the video. But yeah, basically the video starts off by saying, "Hey guys, I'm here. I'm Eric Tams. I'm with the Q, whoever the guy is, another fellow developer." And they go straight into a 1v1 hero draft. Man, this is hype. You can draft 1v1. This is something that people really wanted from 1.0, and I'm really excited that there's going to be the option to do this.
And not just that. Let me just put the little cherry on top of the cake. When you drafted on Artifact 1.0, you weren't drafting real time against other players, and this gives at least the impression that it's completely real time. So that knowing that you're going against a human and you're going to play against what he's currently drafting instead of just drafting from a random pool of cards that other people might pick one card in like 1 week, 1 month. That's what's more captivating.
Yep.
So knowing that you're going against a real person in real time is pretty cool.
Yeah, and what is also pretty cool that actually ties in really well what you just said is right at the beginning of the video they show like a friends list thingy. So there's already a friends list feature in the game. So presumably you're going to be able to challenge as you were in 1.0. But I really hope that they work on these social features a bit more, because this was one of the biggest problems in 1.0 was that they promised this kitchen table feeling and a lot of things that actually did not really materialize at the end. But yeah, so Hero Draft, basically the gist of it is you're going to be playing a 1v1 and you're going to be using this basically as a beginner to get to know the heroes and get to know the cards. So the way that this is going to work is basically that you just draft as if it was a game of Dota. You're going to be given 4 heroes, it looks like, and it looks like it's one from each color. And one of you will pick first, and then the following player will pick 2 heroes, and every time you pick a hero, another one shows up. And you're going to be drafting from the same pool of 4 heroes until both of you have picked 6 heroes. So whoever picks first picks only 1, and whoever picks last also just picks 1. So very similar to Dota Draft. And then
would you say that this was to pull in people who play Dota? Because I remember when Artifact 1.0 came out, a lot of people who played Dota didn't identify with the game and kept bashing it because of that. So this is like pure Dota. Would you say this is like something that would catch more people who play Dota? Like it didn't happen on 1.0?
I think so. And I personally, I almost even kind of wish that they had gone even a bit more in that direction, almost. I mean, this is for the new player, so I think they want to keep it simple. But at the same time, I'm kind of almost hoping that there's like a more developed version of this for the more advanced player, where you can maybe actually ban heroes, or you have a bigger hero pool to choose from. Because I had kind of envisioned this as like a proper Dota 2 draft with a lot of, well, basically the whole pool of heroes, and you would ban and pick and so on. But obviously that I think that would be quite overwhelming for the new player that doesn't come from Dota. But I really think for someone who's coming from Dota, this is really good, I think.
They might do a mode like that for expert, like competitive style. We can't forget that hero draft, like they said, is for beginners and people that starting the game. So it's normal that they only show you the basic heroes or the heroes that you have unlocked so far. They even mentioned that the cards that are added to your deck are only cards that you have and not new cards. So having all the heroes in the pool might be something interesting for something more expert. Mm-hmm. And I can see that working and give you more than 4 heroes to pick from than just those 4. Because if you look at it, always having a black hero or a red hero, green or blue every pack is kind of lets you go mono black, mono red, mono green, or just go with the 2 colors that you want, and that's very friendly. But I would expect that they'd make something like this as a hard, like expert mode, but with, you might open a pack and not a single blue hero there, and that will force you to pick what's good and keep going at it that way. So kind of like we had in draft, you'd get like different heroes, a random hero, and you'd get I'm not playing blue, so I'm not going to pick a hero, I'm going to pick a card. So I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff they can do with hero drafting.
Yeah. The only other thing to mention is basically that the deck will be constructed automatically. So this is really, really oriented towards the new players. You just pick the heroes and you pick whatever you want, whatever looks good, whatever you think has synergy. And then the game will automatically make a deck based on the heroes that you pick. So if you pick 2 green heroes, 40% of your deck will be green. If you pick 1 black hero, 20% of your deck will be black. So this is quite similar to 2-color mode that already existed in 1.0 and 1.0, and it was quite fun. But yeah, so I think this is really, really good. And the other exciting thing that I wanted to say is that actually there's new music. We already hear new soundtrack in this part of the draft. Not during the gameplay itself, but there's new music during the draft, and it sounds amazing. Some people were saying that it sounds like Underlords. I didn't recognize the music, so for me it sounded new, and I really hope it's new.
People in Reddit were going crazy at it and saying that it sounded like a remix of the Underlords song. Other people said it was a mix from Artifact and Overlords. So to be honest, I don't care. It's new music. It can even be the same music played backwards. It's new music, so that's pretty cool because we got used to hearing the same songs over and over again about playing Artifact.
For sure. And I think the big concern also was with the whole COVID situation that they wouldn't be able to get the artists to come in. I mean, for all we know, this could be music that had already been produced for 1.0 and never got released. But I really hope that they managed to, with the whole pandemic situation, still record voice acting and still record music, because that would be super, super cool. So I'm not sure how we want to proceed with this, because actually during the draft we see a bunch of new heroes. Shall we go through some of the new heroes that they show in the draft, or do you want to leave that towards the end?
They brought in two of the heroes I hate the fucking most.
All right, so let's do heroes then.
let's talk about the goddamn elephant in the room.
Bring the salt, dude. Bring it. Come on.
So, like, the hero that I hate the most when playing Dota is fucking Phantom Cancer. I really hate that hero. I just hope, and we get to see that every time he hits and he doesn't die, he seems to make a copy. And the copies seem to make more copies, but I don't know if it's a guarantee that they do a copy.
Yeah. So
in the game it's not 100%. It's like
let me describe the hero card for whoever's on audio and cannot see. So Phantom Lancer is a red hero, and he's got one ability, seemingly a passive. He's a 4 attack, 3 HP card. And it seems during the gameplay that whenever he hits a tower, he will generate an illusion. Now, mind you, the illusion is not a proper copy of him. Rather, it's a toned down creep. It's a 2-1 creep, basically. So it's not really a true illusion. And it looks like or it's basically confirmed from the gameplay video that when these 2-1 illusions hit the tower, they also procreate another illusion. So in essence, it's kind of a red mist pillager. What do you think of the illusion?
Which was already an annoying card, and they just made it better.
What do you think of the illusions not being actual illusions, rather smaller ones? I mean, I guess the illusions in Dota are also having less HP.
Yeah, they do less damage and are more easily killable. Well, they had to do something. It had to be weaker, and
had to be balanced.
It's a 2-1, so that means a creep will kill it, and I'm fine with that, because you won't completely snowball, and you're able to, for example, if you have Timber Sorrow, you can actually clear a whole lane of illusions. So being a 2-1 is fine. I think by doing Phantom Cancer, they didn't go the completely bonkers way. So yeah. I still hate the hero, but at least it doesn't look bonkers in the game.
In Dota, it has the added benefit that the illusions look exactly the same. So if you're casting a spell or something, you might get confused and attack an illusion instead of the real one, and that's kind of the cancer part, really. And here that's not going to be the case. Yeah. Otherwise, mechanically, it's very similar, basically, in Dota as well. When PL hits something, or when its illusions hit something, it just procreates.
It's a win. It looks like a win more condition. It's like a win more card.
Yeah. The thing here is obviously also that now with the 5 slots limitation, he's not going to be completely ridiculous. Also raises the question, what happens when the board is full of PL illusions? I wonder if the creep substitutes the illusion, or if the creep just dies. But
I just wanna mention that Tubby the Rat is saying something that makes me completely laugh about it. Is that illusion can still kill Ricks. They hate Ricks so much that they even made it killable by one of the illusions.
We'll get there. So now that you mentioned Ricks, might as well, I think, mention some of the heroes that we already knew from 1.0 that show up in this draft. Now, bear in mind, maybe I missed something. It's a lot of information, but Ricks remains basically the same, it looks like, but he's a 3-2. Sven is now a 4-4 with 4 cleave, so the cleave got massively buffed. It looks honestly much stronger.
That looks a little bit broken. I think I don't know your opinion. I think the way cleaved worked, as in doing half damage, was fine. It just annoyed me that you weren't able to hit stuff on the sides if you didn't have something in front of you, and they kind of fixed that on 2.0. But doing full damage cleave, it just feels a little bit too strong. I don't know, because even if you play Dota, cleave doesn't do full damage, right? Cleave is like a percentage of the damage that
It's a
you're doing.
percentage, yeah.
So doing full damage on cleave kind of looks broken to me. We'd have to play and see overall after like 200 games or 300 games of the community what the overall thought was. But I just think that full cleave is just that's too much.
Yeah, definitely looks very, very strong, but I will also say Sven was a very weak hero. I mean, it was only playable in draft, and even then wasn't really like a high pick or so. So I like the buff. I don't mind. I don't mind making the cards very strong or OP. I would rather, in fact, have all the cards be OP or super strong than have them all be kind of toned down. I prefer that they are toned up, if you will. So we'll see. I mean, when people get in the beta and get their hands, it will very easily and fast and quickly be discovered if Sven is OP. But that's a big change for him. Then we've got Skywrath Mage is now a 2/4. Luna is a 2/5. Crystal Maiden is a 1/3, apparently with the same passive. Draw Ranger is a 3/4 with the same passive.
It might not be the same passive.
The images, sure.
The same icon, but not they might not have the same text.
Absolutely true. Enchantress
is Blood. We've seen that Bloodseeker is now a red card.
I wanted to leave that to the end.
It's the first. You want to leave it to the end? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll let you tackle that.
Let me just go through all the boring ones because these guys look like they're relatively the same. Enchantress is now a 3/3. Lycan is a 3/5, and Sniper is a 3/4. It seems like Headshot deals 4 damage instead of 5, so pretty good. And and then I wanted to come to Bloodseeker and Anti-Mage. So yeah, do you wanna comment on Bloodseeker?
It's the first card that we see that gets a color change, right? I don't think they've shown us anything that there was a color change.
So we will see that Ogre Corpse Tosser, the creep, is no longer red, he is black now. Otherwise, from what we have seen until now, I don't think they have changed colors on anything particularly now. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the first color swap that we see. He's a 5/5 red hero now. We don't know obviously what his abilities are, but presumably he will be similar. But
so if he still silences, and I don't want to say anything barbaric, it's going to be the first time the red gets silenced, right?
Yes. True, absolutely true. So they might want to change that, I guess, if they want to. Yeah, this is something that I've been discussing is about the color pie, because it seems like now there's a way more mixing of the abilities between colors, or at least that's my general impression of it. So it would be interesting to see red have a silence, but obviously we don't know. He's got the same icon, and we don't see the card during the gameplay because none of the players choose him. So, and then the other very interesting hero that shows up is Anti-Mage, a 5/3 black hero with 2 abilities. Seemingly, I deduce from looking at the icons, he's got a blink ability, so probably he's going to be able to change positions and lanes, as well as mana break. So I wonder if when he hits a tower, if he steals mana for the next round or if he denies. So it's going to be interesting to see what I'm assuming mana break is, because the symbol seems like a mana crystal breaking in half or something like that.
Yeah, anti-fan, anti-mage, also known as the anti-fan hero. He's like Phantom Lancer. He's a snowball hero, and we don't know what the abilities do. Unlike Phantom Lancer, that we actually get to understand what he does. I just hope that they don't go bananas with him too. I'd expect, like, if he hits a tower, he probably locks 1 mana crystal for the next turn or something. So as long as it's something that I don't know, because it might not even be that. It might be something else. But they do show the symbol of a mana crystal being broken, so
Yeah.
It does give the idea that he's going to lock or break a mana crystal to the next turn.
Yeah, so overall pretty hyped to see the new heroes. I'm starting to get accustomed to the lower stats. It still feels a little bit awkward to see the heroes toned down in comparison to 1.0, but I'm starting to get the feeling of it. So I think that's kind of it for the hero draft. I don't want to talk about the signature spells or the cards yet, because we can talk that during the gameplay part. I think the only thing that remains to say is that it looks like each player has 3 minutes to draft. But it seems like relatively straightforward, right?
Yeah, there's no, well, yeah. In this mode, yeah, I don't think you need more time than that. And it actually shows you you're gonna get one pick, then you're gonna get 2 picks, etc., and you can plan ahead with that. So 3 minutes looks like more than enough.
Oh, and then I didn't say you pick 6 heroes, and then obviously you can exclude one of them, so it's good to have a bit of margin to take a hero out. All right, so the gameplay video obviously progresses into a match, and we're gonna see the both players skipping some rounds, and we'll see how things progress. First thing, well, there's so many first things to mention actually.
This is where the happiness is.
This is where the information flush comes down. There's a lot of stuff, and I'm 100% sure we're gonna be missing stuff. So. First things first, let's talk about the deploy. First thing that I notice as the heroes come in is that Eric Tams seems to be on the dire perspective, because he calls his safe lane is actually on the right, and he by mistake calls it, well, presumably for me by mistake he calls it the off lane, but he deploys his last hero to the right. So I'm presuming that
someone hasn't been playing Dota.
So I presume that the other player is going to be the Radiant. Obviously the map here and the board doesn't reflect that, presumably because it's still in a very early stage. But we get a feeling for how the game is going to look and play from the player's perspective. Something very striking here to say immediately is both players start the game with 5 gold.
Yeah, so this is going back to my initial idea that mostly they want you to buy an item on first turn, or level up the shop on the first turn, something like that. They don't want you to be static. They want you to have more interactions with the game. So that's, I don't know if it's good. We'd have to play it and see if it's necessary, if it's unnecessary. But the way I see it, they mainly want you to have more interactions and not just open the shop. And, it was really annoying when you opened the shop and you were missing 1 gold to get that item or something like that. So I guess they're doing this so you can actually be able to buy 1 item at the end of the first round.
It seems awkward to me. I'm not sure what the logic is between or the actual logic for this is. It might be exactly what you're saying, that they want people to be able to upgrade round 1. But it feels weird to me in a way, and I'm having some trouble to process it. Also surprised that they didn't tell us this from the previous. We had 2 shop posts and they didn't mention this at all. And the other thing that they did not mention that we now know for sure is that creeps provide 1 gold and that heroes still provide 5. Yeah, I mean, the whole shop thing, we've talked about this. I still feel like I don't like the 10, 15, 20, etc. Gold price lockdown on the items. I would prefer them to have like different varying costs. But at the same time, I don't want to get too much into it. I will say though that Eric Tams drops a bounty hunter, gets a kill, and by the end of the first round, he's got like 20 gold. So gold generation just seems like it's going to be completely different from the first game. And I also cannot imagine that they can keep cards like Payday if you're just going to start with 5.
It's not that much of a difference. Compared to, let's say, he's playing mono black and he does a kill with bounty hunter. The Q is playing red green and he only has less 3 gold than a mono black with a bounty hunter that actually kills a creep. So it doesn't seem to me that black currently is going bonkers on gold.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Bounty Hunter is much more reliable now. And it seems to me like watching how this game between them plays out, it's going to be difficult to balance a card like Payday, because if you're going to be so consistently making 15, 20 gold in round one, then Payday is just going to be potentially very broken. So I think we might end up seeing some shift into the economy decks, if you will. We will see. The whole shop thing and the whole gold generation thing becomes very complicated and mathematical, and I think it's not really worth going into it. But it's good to know that you start the game with 5. Yeah, the question remains exactly why that is, and exactly why 5. Yeah, I think it warrants more discussion, but let's try to progress. So it seems like players start the game still with 5 cards. The one very interesting thing here to notice is that a Courier card has been added to each player's hand. Now, this Courier card, basically what it does, it restores, it costs 0 to play, it's an improvement. I'm just trying to bring it up here on the screen. So it's a 0 mana improvement, it's a colorless card, it looks like, it's not an item. It's not, so it's basically like a colorless improvement card, and it reads restore 1 mana per round when you play an item. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, we talked that if you had to play an item and spend 1 gold, 1 mana, then activate the item and spend another 1 mana, at a certain point in the game, you'd be like, you'd have to spend almost all your mana if you wanted to play like 2 items in 1 turn. So I guess this is like something that helps you late game to be able to do more plays and not just play items. The thing is, you get to only put it on 1 lane, right? So it only affects items that you put on 1 lane, because that's the way I saw it, because he puts it in the middle. They both put it on the middle lane. At least that's how I see it. So I understand that it only affects the items that you use on 1 lane.
It reads like that, but then if you notice, I think there's a part in the video where he plays like a claymore or something. He plays an item and then he gets the mana back, I think.
So you just get items free.
So basically, I don't know. So listen, basically, I don't know, and I haven't analyzed this part of the video too much. The way the Courier reads to me, it sounds like it should be just in 1 lane, but it kind of raises the question if improvements now affect the whole board, because from what we see here, it looks like he gets mana from, he's got the improvement in mid lane, and he plays an item on the left, and he gets the mana back. So it looks like it's a global effect. Mm-hmm. To me, this is very reminiscent of Hearthstone mana coin, if you will. Now, the mana coin in Hearthstone, basically, for people who don't know, is just a zero one-time use card that you get a mana. And this is kind of to compensate when you don't go first. So if you're the second player going, you get this mana coin to compensate. And this feels to me, this kind of reminds me of that feeling. And I don't, again, I've complained about the mana of the unified mana pool before, and my feeling is that they decided to unify the mana to make it look more like traditional card games where people are more familiar with them. And I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I should go off on a rant here. I don't like the Courier, basically. I don't like this. It seems like it's a bit of, without trying to be overly mean, it feels a little bit like they're compensating for other design decisions that they've made with that. And
Eric does say when he shows the card that that's a card they've been playing with, as in they're still testing it.
Sure.
They might have it activated for all lanes, for example, and they might change it to 1 lane. They might remove the card. They might change the card. That will be up to the feedback. Your opinion is you don't feel comfortable with it and you don't like what it does currently. It might be too good. It might not be good enough. We'll still have to try it out. I just, the way it acts, and like you said, he plays it on the left lane. at least the way it's written, and it's not working as it's written down. So I don't have anything against the card itself. I just think if it does what it does, if it as we see, every time you play an item, you get you get the mana back. Getting it on the first turn, like they show, it just makes all items not cost mana. So I don't see the point in it. I have items cost mana if you get a card at the beginning of the game that lets all your items not cost mana.
I think it's just one item per round, though, so it's not. Restore
Is it written that? Is it written that way?
It says restore 1 mana per round when you play an item. So I think it's just the first item that you play in the round. So it gives you basically 1 mana extra, kind of. I can see how you can use this to kind of outmaneuver your opponent, because the Courier costs 0, so you could potentially like spend your whole mana and then. Wait, actually, this now it's coming to me. So if you have no mana and you play the Courier, can you then play an item for 0? No, because it says restore 1 mana when you play an item. So you have to play the item.
You still need to have it,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to say that you could potentially spend all your mana, drop the Courier, and then play the item for free, but it doesn't sound like it works like that. In any case, I could see how the card could bring some interesting decisions to the table, but I don't. I keep feeling that they are bringing the game too close to Hearthstone, too close to Legends of Runeterra, too close to Magic, and I realize they might love those games and they might feel like this is the best decision. I just happen to not feel like that, and the Blink Scroll and the Courier to me are just two things that are annoying me, and I'm completely aware that these are details, so to speak. And this can be easily corrected, this can be easily changed, no problem. That's what the beta is for. But I just keep feeling like they add these things to compensate for maybe other things that the fundamental design of the game could have avoided. So yeah, to me, I think this is something the community really needs to discuss and provide feedback on, because I think it's going to be very, very interesting.
The Courier reminds me of Gwent. Like every deck has a special card. Some decks might have the same special card. You can choose which special card you want to put in the deck. It might end up like some type of card like that, like where you get to choose one like power-up card that you can put in your deck. It can be the Courier, it can be something else. It might not even be this. It just reminds me of how in Gwent you have that card.
Can you always get it at the beginning of the game, or how does it work?
You get it up. It depends. Normally, that card, if you're the person playing first, if you go first, you have it on the board. I think that's how it works in Gwent. So they have like a different approach here, and it might not even resemble this, but it just reminds me of that mechanic that you can see in Gwent.
Okay. I think the other important thing to say, because it ties in with this, is also that at some point in the game, the Eric Tams plays a Claymore. By the way, now Claymore, let me see if I can get this right. Claymore is costing 20 gold, so that's a tier 3 item, if I'm not mistaken. And what it does, it gives 10 power, 10 freaking powers. So Claymore's like really a Chad item now. I'm not sure.
Chad item.
I'm not sure if the cost ratio is good or not, but it looks very powerful. And yeah, again, it costs 1 mana to play, as do all other items. The really interesting thing here is something that they have not mentioned before, and that I'm actually really happy to see. He drops the Claymore on top of another item, and instead of replacing or destroying the item as it did in 1.0, he bounces the item back. So this is really interesting, like the same way that they did with the deployment of the heroes, where if you put a hero on top of a hero, you will bounce it back. I like this because it opens a lot of space for you to replace items and drop them somewhere else. So it seems interesting.
So you're one of those.
What do you mean?
I mean, there's people are like divided on that. Myself,
okay.
I didn't see it as a problem for an item being destroyed.
Me neither.
You'd make a tactical decision. Okay, do I want to make something happen right now and throw an item out, or now you just now it doesn't give you the impact of the decision. I mean, you can't play it right after you get bounced. It's locked for one turn, but it still removes that tactical decision of the impact of the decision of, should I destroy this like +7 damage and give it a blink so I can just put this hero on another lane? You'd have to sacrifice something for to make the play. And I understand a lot of people, apparently I didn't have this idea, a lot of people in Reddit are like, oh my god, this is great, I hate it when this happened. For me, I was okay with it because you were able to make a better play or make a tactical decision on sacrificing an item for something else that would make something happen right now. And I was okay with it, but apparently Reddit is filled with people that say that this is like one of the best changes they did to the game. I'm like, okay, man, if you say so.
Yeah. Let's not talk about Reddit. I don't get me wrong. I didn't have a problem with the way it worked in 1.0. The thing is that it was a hard decision to make. Often, like for example, imagine you had the Blink Dagger and you had to drop a Jasper Daggers because it was really important in that specific situation. And I like the fact that it was an important decision, but I have to agree that it was often a feels bad one. So like, you would sacrifice your item and then you would feel bad, like, because you lost the item and you lost the gold. So it ends up being kind of a quality of life thing, if you will. And it gives the items also a different dynamic where you know that if you drop an item early in a hero, you might not necessarily regret it later on because you can then still swap it to someone else. Where some items have obviously more worth on some specific heroes than others. For example, if you would never want to drop a Vestures of the Tyrant on a Rix, but now you might want to do that because you can know that you can then later replace it and bring it back to some other hero. So I like that perspective, and I think it's overall just a kind of a quality of life thing. And the other thing, I'm just going to segue now, because the other thing that this does is it keeps cards in your hand. Okay, we've seen now that I'm gonna segue into this right now, because we've seen that we start the game with 5. There is no mulligan, or it doesn't seem like there's a mulligan, and you draw 1 card per turn. This is huge. This is really, really huge, and I'm a little bit disappointed that they've done this. But what this does is it's gonna make it so, and in fact in the video by round I think 9, both players are basically cardless and drawing off the top of the deck. So what this does also, the item bounce, it keeps a bit more cards in your hand, because the way that it's looking right now, with just drawing one card per turn, it feels like the RNG of the card draw is going to be much more impactful and much more relevant. And also it's going to make the game a bit more curvy, in the sense that you're just going to be wanting to play the cards that you have on curve onto the table, and you will have less decisions per turn because the card draw kind of will make those decisions for you. You will have less strategic options because of drawing less cards. And at the end, you're playing 3 lanes, right? Or at least theoretically.
Yeah, I mean,
so, yeah.
I know they clustered the mana, and you still have the 3 lanes, but you get to play less cards. But the good part of drawing the 2 cards is it gave you options. We still have 3 lanes. We still need to get more cards to be able to play something on the right lane instead of the left lane, or something like that. At this point, I don't even care about the mulligan, even if we only get 1 card, because I feel that only having 1 card was drawing 2 cards per turn by each player was like a signature thing. Every game has a signature. Having 3 lanes, drawing 2 cards was like strong signatures in Artifact. And I don't think that... I can understand that they only letting you draw 1 card because they don't want your hand to be clustered because of mobile options. It would be hard to see how many... Because I remember like having half of my deck in my hand if you played certain decks.
Oh, but it feels so good, dude. It feels so
good. Because you have a lot of options. And I can understand that they want to do this for mobile reasons, and because they want to simplify it a bit, or maybe because you have less mana, they don't want you to feel that you have so many cards in your hand you just can't play them. But I feel that drawing 2 cards gave you a lot of options. And even when we had 2 cards, we'd still play like probably 1 card a turn in the first 1-2 turns, because you want to play around what the other guy was doing and you'd react to that. So I just feel that removing the card draws is kind of killing a lot of the game's signature at this point. I can understand why they're doing it, but I just think there should be a better way to do this.
I'm 100% behind you, man. This is my main gripe with the game right now, and I don't talk for all the long haul players, not at all. I'm just being honest about what I feel here, because yeah, people maybe feel like I'm being too salty or whatever, but the two main things right now that I really, really, really wish that we can change back in the beta is having mana on each lane and drawing 2 cards, man. I think both of these things take away too much from the original gameplay, and they also take away from the actual feeling that you are playing 3 boards. And now that we have some gameplay video also, I can really start to get the feel like this is basically just like you're playing 1 board. It feels less and less like you're playing 3 boards to me. And it's exactly what you just said. It feels like they are coming further and further away from the original design. And okay, they had to change. It's clear they had to change stuff, but how much is enough? Like, and it feels to me that they've gone over what was necessary. Like they're kind of overdoing it, in my opinion. And I think, like I had already said this for the mana change, and now I say it again for the card draw. I think these are the 2 main gripes that I have with the design right now, and I really, really wish I get a ticket from the lottery so that I can provide more feedback and try to switch this back personally, because yeah, I'm afraid that this might make it feel too much like other existing card games in the market, and that would be a shame, because this is the most unique and most innovative card game we've had in years, and to see it reverse back to stuff that already exists for me is a shame. It's really a shame. In any case, there's more stuff to talk about. I don't know if where to progress from here. I mean, something important to say is that they mentioned combat now alternates left to right, and in the next round, right to left.
Yeah, even in odd turns.
So it seems like this is probably a good decision, because the fact that we are now playing the 3 lanes at the same time, since you are not playing the boards separately, would have led to the combat happening in the 3 lanes at the same time. I think we've talked about this before, where this would very, very likely lead to way more draws happening, and draws are something that, you know, it's okay, it's fine, they should exist, but they should definitely not be happening all the time. In Dota, this is particularly egregious because there's never supposed to be a draw according to the lore that I know, at least, or the videos that I've seen. The draw is not supposed to happen. So it's interesting that that would have been more happening way more often with the design of the simultaneous 3-lane play. And so I think they found this gimmick to kind of prevent that from happening. To me, it raises the question if there are like death effects, how that's going to happen. Like, if imagine there's a hero or a creep that has an effect when it dies. Does it happen simultaneously with the other lanes, or does it happen lane by lane sequentially? You know what I mean? Because that might affect how you want to deploy your heroes and stuff. So it will add presumably another layer of complexity. Remains to be seen how often it will be relevant, right? But it's interesting.
Now people have to play around on if it's an odd turn or an even turn, the combat is going to play from the other side. So you have to look at it like, if this lane is going to resolve first next turn and he kills the tower, then I need to put all the eggs in this basket, or more eggs in this basket than the other one. Yeah. So it actually gives, it avoids draws, but it actually still helps you out on the, it makes you think more. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah, I I have nothing against it. I think it was basically necessary to go around the draw issue. Now that we talk about towers and draws, I think it would be also good to mention that we get confirmation that the tower will be 30 HP in the, at least in hero draft, because they said before that in other modes it might be different.
Yeah.
And very, 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 very interesting to me. Of course, we see also that you destroy 2 towers to win the game. I don't think they would have wanted to change that, but very interesting is Eric Thames destroys a tower, the Ancient pops up, and the Ancient is 30 HP. So the Ancient got severely nerfed. The Ancient is no longer 80, rather the Ancient is 30. So it's basically like a tier 2 tower or something instead of the Ancient. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well, the way they're doing it is the win condition is 2 towers, period. So you kill 130 in that lane and you want to keep going on that lane, they're going to make the second tower 30. That's how they approached it, most likely.
Yeah, it just has implications in the sense, I think, that it's certainly much easier to destroy the Ancient, right? So it's going to be happening way more often that you kill the Ancient, presumably.
Yeah, because the Ancient having so much more HP would disencourage you to invest completely on that lane and just try to defend the others. Now, if you get like an insane PL or something, although since we can only have 5 slots, you're not able to go bonkers on the single lane, so that's also kind of controlled. So maybe that's why they thought that only putting 30 on the Ancient would be enough.
Right, can I make a comment? Your cat is there, isn't he? Is your cat snoring?
Yeah, my cat's snoring.
I started hearing snoring, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And then he started talking, and I thought, "Okay, it's not you. It's your cat."
Yeah, my cat's and he snores a lot.
That's fine. I'm sure no one will be mad to hear a cat snoring. All right. Yeah. What else to say, man? I know what else to say. Where the fuck are my imps, dude? I want my imps.
Okay. So a lot of people have been talking about Lux and Nox not being in there. They do say this is a 2D table, so they might remove the imps for like performance issues or something. I don't know. And we might see them back. I think we'll see them back. I mean, there's no point in removing the imps. The imps were like, that's another signature of the goddamn game. You might as well rename it something else if you're removing everything to make artifact.
Sure, I mean, so, the video begins with an image
of the imps. I think we'll see the imps coming back when they make the 3D table.
Oh, you better give me my fucking imps, man. If you get rid of the imps as well, I'm uninstalling. I'm not playing the beta if I don't get the imps, okay?
Then you're not playing the beta because you probably won't have the imps on a 2D screen.
All right. So what else do we get confirmed, man? We got confirmed that there's still 3 item slots. I guess we already kind of knew that. Something important to say is that the hero abilities, because there was some speculation about this as well. The ability cooldown, the hero abilities don't come into the game off cooldown, so it's going to be similar to 1.0. The interesting thing here is that in 1.0 the hero would come in and would only start counting down towards having the ability active the following round, and now it looks like there's it's immediately counting down. So for example, Sniper has I think a 3-round cooldown. He comes in on the flop, it's down to 2. So that's I think again like a quality of life improvement that's going to be feeling better, I think, for everyone in general.
Yeah, because it was really annoying have to wait so many times until you were able to use your hero's ability. So look, it's cool. Once again, they want you to be able to interact more and do more stuff. So that's cool.
For sure. So
one thing I saw people talking about, and to be honest, I don't think that's much of a big thing, is people mentioning that the initiative information is now much more visible. It's bigger, and you get to see initiative written in that little blank thing where you know if it's your turn or your opponent's turn.
Yeah, this is all placeholder. I don't think we can really say that. I mean, I'm sure they're going to bring back the coin as it was before, and yeah, whatever. I mean, this doesn't really matter. It's written down there in the corner. That's fine. I don't see a problem. In any case, initiative isn't going to be as important as it was before, so it becomes also okay if it's more blended into the background. It doesn't have to be better visible.
You're saying it's not as important as before. It isn't and it isn't. I know I understand why you say it's not as important as before, but what when you ended the turn, right? If you had initiative, you were going to be able to play a card on your first lane, and you know, unless your opponent had something cross lane to kill something on your second or third lane, you were still able to respond even if you didn't have initiative. Now what this does is the person who has initiative might actually be able to kill something on the third lane. I know now you don't get to play lanes and it's always the same thing, playing everything at the same time, so the impact is different. But what I mean is now if you have initiative, you can actually kill something on the third lane directly as the game starts with a card that isn't cross lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That is still true. The problem is that because now there's, from what we've seen so far, way more mobility and abilities to use, and less mana as well, while nerfing late game spells. The impact of the late game spells like Chain Frost or Annihilation or whatever, it's just going to be much smaller, or even gank, something like that. So if you wanna deny a lane, it's just going to be much harder. And since the initiative now is not important in the sense of going from lane to lane as it used to be, and rather it's just more important at the beginning of the round, if anything, it means that it's going to be just even if you would say that the importance would be the same, just the fact that the frequency is lower, because you only switch round once per round and you would switch lanes twice per round before. So just the fact that the frequency is lower of the event happening means that the importance is going to be much lower. But we have to see the cards, obviously. But I think, at least theoretically, I don't see that initiative is gonna be more important. If anything, it's for sure going to be less important. But whatever. I think it's not going to be mattering that much. What I wanted to say, now that while you were talking, I was taking some notes. Because I thought about instances of RNG, because this was a huge problem, obviously, and they solved the arrow issue, etc. We see PA, Phantom Assassin, using her coup de grace, and it's still the same, so you still discard a random card. And the other thing is that seemingly the PL illusions also spawn randomly. What do you think of them keeping these complete randomness mechanics into the game?
I mean, it's like the same conversation we were having about the items. It's a sacrifice. You're playing a power card, and there's a sacrifice. I never had a problem with the card in the beginning. You discard a random card for doing something very, very strong. So that's the type of RNG that I don't have an issue with. So for me, that's just normal.
Yeah, I don't have a big issue with it. I kind of somehow expected them to kind of get rid of these completely random mechanics. So it will be interesting. I mean, we already saw that Ogre and Bounty Hunter don't have their RNG mechanics. We still need to see Tithe Hunter, if his Ravage is still randomly stunning or whatever. But it's interesting to see that they will still keep these random illusion spawns and the random discard mechanic. So,
although it's important to notice that PA was very nerfed, because if you look at it used to cost 6, now it costs 5. But if your mana is for all the lanes, it's a really big nerf to cost 5 and discard a card. I feel that PA got like a really big nerf at that.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It seems like, just from a percentage standpoint as well, they said that they would reduce everything about 60%. and one mana less is definitely not the 40% reduction. But they did say that the late game spells were going to be more expensive, so just the impact of coup probably overall is much lower. And also the other thing I will say is that since you only draw one card, also the random discard is probably going to feel bad way more often than it used to, right? Because before you used to have a lot of cards, and now you have fewer cards in hand most of the time. So imagine, yeah. On the other hand, though, the potential benefit is that if coup is your only card and you don't have anything to discard, you don't discard anything. So that's a potential benefit also. But I think overall, really, you want the players to be holding cards, because playing from the top of your deck is just it might be fun in a casual setting, but having the games decided by who top decks what, it's just I think it's the wrong way to go. It feels like it's the wrong way to go for me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I don't know. Do you want to talk about some of the cards that we see? There's some interesting spells and some interesting creeps.
I think we just need to let's talk about a little bit of the new cards that we were able to see, but let's not dwell too much on it, or otherwise we could do this for hours, but then it's going to be complicated.
Yeah, so one thing that I already mentioned is Ogre Corpse Tosser now costs 4 and is now a black card, no longer a red card. The effect seems to be the same. He just throws bodies of creeps at the tower for damage. We see Bounty Hunter's Shadow Walk signature card, so his track card got moved to an ability, and now his signature card is Shadow Walk. I believe costs 2. I don't have that up on the screen right now. And what it does is the hero that casts the card, so it has to be a black hero, the hero that casts the card will be able to redeploy after combat. This obviously synergizes with Bounty Hunter because his track ability activates on deploy. So if you kill something with a Bounty Hunter, or if you're going to kill something with a Bounty Hunter, you drop the Shadow Walk on him, he kills it, potentially gets the track gold back, and then after combat he goes back to your hand and you can redeploy them so that you can track something again. So it feels like gold generation from Bounty is quite buffed, actually. Boxo is also telling me on chat that Ogre Corpse Tosser works on any unit now, so unlike 1.0 where it only worked with melee creeps. All right, so thanks for that, Box. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other than that, I don't know if there's anything striking for you. There's this cool... Yeah, go for it.
There's the... I noticed that they, for example, they nerfed down a Gloaty Vandal. It's now a 2/2 instead of a 4/4.
It costs 3,
it had to, right? Yeah. Legion Standard Bearer is now a 0/3 instead of a 0/6, and it gives 3 attack instead of the 4 that it used to. So they tweaked. There's cards, the old cards that we can see that they tweaked.
Yep, for sure. Ogoli Vandal, it steals gold or something, right? What does it do?
I couldn't see what it does. Did they change what it doesn't do damage to the tower? Does it come in anymore?
I think I saw something on Reddit saying that he steals 2 gold from the opponent. Yeah, Khan is confirming that. So when he comes into play, instead of throwing stuff at the tower and dealing damage, what he's going to do is that he's going to be stealing gold. So somehow it feels like we are seeing like different takes on economy cards, which seem really interesting. Instead of the improvements to give gold and the payday, it seems like you're going to be actually playing creep. I mean, there was actually a creep that would generate gold, the Ravenclaw. What was it called? I think Ravenclaw.
It was Ravenclaw.
Yeah, but it wasn't constructed playable, and even in draft it was very, very situational. All right, so Ravenhook. Yeah, that's what it was.
Ravenhook. Okay, you got other new stuff like there's a 2/2 red minion that apparently does either double damage or true extra damage to targets. At least at the minute 5, at the 5:33, you can actually see that red minion on the lane, and he has 2 attack, but he's doing 4 damage to his target. I don't know if it's either does +2 damage or if he just does double damage. There's also a 3/3 red minion that has 1 armor that apparently gets another +1 armor for each hero. I don't know if it's in the lane or by his side. You can actually see this at minute 7.
It looks really
So-
strong, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, if it's by each hero in the lane, it's gonna get a lot of armor. If it's by a hero by its side, it only will get 2 armor,
Sure.
so it still gets 3 armor. So it looks pretty strong for a minion.
For sure.
And then you got the Horde Striker that you get to see when he discards the card when he plays Scoop.
Yeah, this looks interesting. So I think I'm really enjoying the variety of creeps. I mean, it's very hard to talk about their power, but I think I like what I'm seeing in terms of card design and card variety. And like I said before, I'm just very curious on exactly what the color pie is going to mean for each color, and otherwise I'm really more worried about the rules and the game's foundations, the rule set, rather than the card design, because we all know the card design requires more finesse, but it's easier to adjust as time goes. And I think really my call for people who share the same concerns as me is hopefully we'll all get in the beta, and then we'll be able to have like a chat room or some sort of discussion forum to be able to speak directly to the devs and share these concerns, and then we will see what can potentially be done about it. So I think unless there's something else that you really want to talk about, it's kind of impossible to speak about all the details on every single little thing. But I think we did a good job of covering the most important things, right?
Yeah, I bet there's like 20, 30 other details that we're not mentioning, or they didn't catch our eye. Yeah. And there's other things that we didn't talk about. Like I know I'm not gonna go in there. For example, there's other stuff that's changed. Like for example, the Dire Horn Alpha, the horn. It's an 8/8 instead of a 12/12 now, for example. And there's other
14,
stuff
14,
like that. But
yeah, exactly.
we could do this for hours.
Yeah. So very interesting. It's super great that this is coming out. Hopefully we're going to see more of this. I wonder if they have more of this stuff prepared. So I was super hyped to see this really completely unexpected out of the blue yesterday. I thought people were trolling me, and then you get to see this. It's just such a treat. So really super happy with how Valve and Eric Thames are handling the communication and how things are being done. Have a few of my concerns that stem from the love of 1.0, but yeah, hopefully the beta will allow us all to have enough time to discuss these things, to share our feedback, and then we'll see where we get the game.
Thing is, now that we saw this, now I even wanted more.
For sure. This is really making me salivate, man. All right, so I think otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Great to have you on this unexpected emergency, if you will.
We got bamboozled by Valve on Monday, but we came back.
So very cool, episode 35. Hopefully we'll get more of these in the future. Yeah, so have a good end of the week, guys, and hopefully we will talk to you guys again on Monday, Tuesday, or whatever.
Later, my dudes.
See ya.